Hi, I'm Tanya, and welcome to Faithful Flow. It's going to be a tutorial on birds of paradise. So birds of paradise is this fancy kind of intermediate to advanced level balancing pose. It requires an open chest, open shoulders, a lot of range of motion in the hip joints, and then very flexible hamstrings to get into it. So I'm going to show you kind of a classic way to get into it, alternative way to get into it. I'll show you how to do it with a belt to help you if you're having trouble with the bind. And then I'm also going to show you half birds of paradise, which is not kind of a classic way to teach this pose, but it's a really good way to practice getting into the pose, practice the shape if you can't reach the bind or you have trouble with straightening the legs. So we're going to cover a lot in this tutorial. So birds of paradise, kind of the classic entrance starts in a side angle pose. So I'm going to do it on my left leg. So starting in kind of like a warrior two, left leg bent, right leg long, right foot on the ground. Then we're going to come into side angle. So left hand towards the ground, right arm extends up. Then to access this bind, you're going to pivot this right arm in the shoulder joint, sending the thumb away from you, and then palms facing the back of the room, or the back of the mat rather. From here, bend your top arm, send this right hand behind your left hip, and then left arm is going to reach underneath you and find this right hand. So you've got this bind here. I'm going to spin so you can see what that looks like from the back side. So again, starting from the side angle, pivot the right arm in the shoulder joint, bend this right arm behind you, and then the left arm comes underneath you, finds the bind. Okay, so this is option one, where if you can't access that bind, you can use the strap. And I find it helpful to start with the strap in the top arm. That way you're not like flinging yourself with it to try and catch it. So from this side angle, you would have this belt in this top hand, same pivot, bend the elbow, send the hand behind the hip, and then reach this left arm underneath, taking a hold of the belt instead of the hand. Okay, so that's one way to make this pose a little more accessible. All right, I'm just going to spin to face you again and join you in that bind. And then from here is where we begin to move into the pose. So this right leg's going to bump in and up several times. Once you're there, weight's going to transfer into right leg. Lift your left heel up off the mat. You can slide that foot a little closer if you'd like to. Now gaze down at the ground, not right at your foot because that'll make you fall forward. So something a little in front of you. And then from here, we're going to begin to stand up. So lifting the chest, a lot of core work for stability, bringing this left knee up. Now try to keep the left hip tucked down here. And you can stay here, or you can begin to extend this left leg up towards the ceiling along this diagonal. And this is birds of paradise. You can bend this left leg, bring it back down to the ground, and come back out as nicely and as slowly as you came in. And then come up to stand, and then you can try the other side. Okay, so that's one classic way to get into it. I like that way with the the bound side angle. I feel like it helps me to kind of open my chest a little bit, get my arms a little more situated. But a lot of people teach it just from kind of this forward fold variation. So feet about hips width apart, fold forward. You can put a bend in the knee, and then you're going to slide your left arm underneath this left leg, and then right arm up towards the ceiling. Same thing. Pivot this right arm in the shoulder joint, reach around behind you, see if you can find the bind, or again, using the belt. And then weight transfers into a right leg, lift the left foot up off the ground. Left heel up off the ground. And then from here, come up to stand. And then same thing, extend the left leg long, maybe lift the gaze. And then coming back down as slowly and as carefully as you came in, releasing that and coming up to stand. All right, I'm not going to practice both sides just for the sake of time on the tutorial, but make sure that you're practicing both sides evenly because it can feel quite different from one side to the other. And the last thing I'm going to show you is this half birds of paradise, or what I call half birds of paradise. This isn't really a yoga pose. It's just something that I use when I'm teaching my students who the full birds of paradise isn't accessible for them. So we're going to start in like a wide-legged chair, okay? So feet, hips width apart or even a little wider. Bend the knees, arms sweep overhead. And then you're going to bring your hands to heart center. Now I'm going to continue moving my left leg just so that we don't get things confused. So it's a little bit of a twist, and then you're going to bring the left elbow and press it to the inside of the left leg. From here, weight transfers into right leg, lift the left heel, and then come up to stand, just trying to keep connection between the left arm and that left leg. You can point this floating foot, and you can stay here with the leg bent, and then come back down and release that back out to stand. And if you noticed, I was wobbling a little bit there. I probably wobbled a little bit in the full Birds of Paradise. That is completely normal in this pose. I very rarely, even after years of doing yoga, can do this pose without a few little wobbles and reset. So if you're finding yourself doing that, don't get frustrated. We all do it. It's very rare that we can get into it the first time and make it look graceful and fluid. So I hope this helps you, gives you some tips and tricks to help you get into Birds of Paradise, and a nice little option there if the whole pose isn't a good one for you. So I hope to see you soon. Grace and peace. Bye.